Good morning. On this Monday, October 22nd, we are now 15 days away from the midterm elections, and a new poll by the folks at NBC and the Wall Street Journal are talking about a surge in interest in these midterms. The surge has helped to drive up President Trump's approval rating, writes the Wall Street Journal today, while maintaining the Democrats' advantage as the party most preferred to lead Congress. And as we continue to take our look at the midterms, we want to hear from black voters only this morning. What is your vote going to be in 2018? We have two separate lines here. Eastern and Central time zones, 202-748-8000. Out west, 202-748-8001. Again, for this first hour, black voters only. Want to hear if you are coming out to vote. Have you decided? Are you leaning a particular way? What issues are most important to you? And if not by phone, you can weigh in at social media. C-SPAN WJ is our Twitter handle. You can also post a comment at facebook.com/C-SPAN. Lots of stories in the papers over the weekend and this morning about the black vote, this midterm. An Associated Press piece that we noticed was published in the Atlanta Black Star, and it says that Democrats are tapping the NAACP and others to engage infrequent black voters for the midterms. They write here that they're asking pastors to text their congregants about the importance of voting. They're connecting with thousands of Puerto Ricans displaced by Hurricane Maria, and they're relying on groups like the NAACP, which has tripled its spending from 2016 to energize black voters. They write that less than 3 weeks before Election Day, a little bit more than 2 weeks now, Democrats are sparing nothing to make sure their voters head to the polls. It's all part of an effort to avoid the disappointment of previous elections when low turnout dashed high expectations. They go on to say here that 2016 was a low point for a lot of us. This comes from Jamal Watkins, Vice President of Engagement at the NAACP. People have awakened and said, wait a minute, we can't lose, and we can't lose like this. Folks are fired up to reinvest in turnout. Younger voters and voters of color tend to stay home in non-presidential elections, says this piece, making the midterm elections that much more important this year. And that's an AP story that we read recently about the Democrats' efforts this campaign season. As far as the Republicans, and specifically President Trump, here's a little bit from a rally he did in Ohio where he is appealing for the black vote this year.
African American unemployment has reached its lowest level in the history of our country. And African American poverty has reached its lowest rate ever. Lowest rate ever. It's a big number, right? How do they beat that number? How does anybody beat that number? We're going to have these people come in. For over 100 years, they've claimed and they've wanted and they've said, they've lied to African Americans. Remember my statement, what do you have to lose? Guess what? They all believe it now. What do you have to lose? We are doing great as a country. But I'm so proud. I am so proud of the kind of numbers you're hearing. My administration is fighting every day to deliver safety, opportunity, and justice for everybody, for everybody. We're asking, as an example, all African American voters to honor us with their support this November. Get away from the Democrats. Get away from the Democrats. They've done nothing. They've done nothing.
That was from an Ohio rally recently by the president. Lots of calls coming in already asking about talking to black voters only for this first hour about your vote in 2018. Johnny is up first from Winston-Salem in North Carolina. Hi, Johnny. Good morning to you.
How you doing?
Fine. Go ahead, please.
Oh, yes. I'm calling because I will be voting Democrat. I've always voted Democrat.
Mm-hmm.
I was the precinct chairman out here and registrar from the time I turned 21. My daddy set us down in 1960 and made us watch Nixon and Kennedy, and I've been a Democrat ever since then. I think it's horrific the way you guys, mostly the media calls this man to be elected. Because just like they were talking about this morning over there on Joe Scarborough, about these people believe anything this man says. Yes, they do. And they're just like what Hillary said they were. They are deplorables. They are deplorable.
Johnny, to what do you attribute the surge this year in these midterm elections?
The surge from because of the way you can continue to run it. You turned that whole Kavanaugh thing around and had the Republicans as being upset because the man was assaulting women, and you had like, because somebody raised their voice, he hollered and screamed and cursed and did everything he could think to do to those Republican Democratic senators. But you act like it was okay to do that. But how dare they have asked him, how dare they say something about him being assaulting a woman? See, the media is the reason Donald Trump is president right now, because you put them lies on TV every day. This man goes out to these little rallies, these little racist, bigoted rallies, and they holler and scream and cheer him on, and you're putting it on TV every morning, loop to loop to loop, every hour, demeaning Democrats.
All right, Johnny, thank you for calling this morning. The president will do 3 rallies this week. As you probably know, he'll be in Houston, Texas for Ted Cruz later today, an event we'll have on at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. He'll also be in Wisconsin this week and in Charlotte, North Carolina this week. In fact, a couple of program notes to tell you about. Barack Obama, the former president, will be in Las Vegas today at 4 p.m., followed by that event with Donald Trump. Campaign rallies live today. Mr. Trump at 7:30 p.m. and Mr. Obama at 4 p.m. On this network live, we have Eric on the line now from White Plains, Maryland. Eric, good morning to you.
Yeah, good morning, C-SPAM, and thank you for taking my call.
You're welcome.
I'm a registered independent, and I will be voting for Republican. And I live in Maryland, who is a Democratic state.
Tell us why. Tell us why, Eric.
Exactly. I'm one of the few black who really try to see our politics through the lenses of reason and not emotion. The Democrat Party has been having the black vote for almost, half a century? But actually, I think that things are just getting worse for the black. For instance, when you take black-on-black crime, whether it's in Chicago, whether it's in Baltimore, is at the highest, but nobody talks about it. President Trump is giving jobs to black people, but most black people hate him so much that they don't even want to see it. And also, if you take the census, it's projected that by 2040, there will be actually more Hispanic in this country than any other race. Our black folk are going to remain at 13%. So it means that
Eric, you said you would vote for Republicans this year. Does that mean you'll vote for the governor, Mr. Hogan, Larry Hogan, for re-election?
Yeah, Mr. Hogan is a good governor.
Should add that Ben Jealous is the Democratic nominee, an African American. What do you make of his candidacy?
I would just like to see some other candidate in Maryland. I'm just tired of Maryland keep voting for Democrat over and over again. We need to experience something else.
All right. Thank you, Eric, for calling. Dwight is on the line now from Fairfield, California. Thanks for getting up early for us. Hey, Dwight.
Hey, good morning, Paul. Thank you for taking my call.
You bet.
Yes, I'm calling early from California here. You're talking about the 2018 midterm elections, and we have a few propositions on our ballot out here in California that I'm most interested in. So, my yes or no vote will be looking at the propositions.
Tell us what they are. What are the top couple of things you got your eye on?
Well, as you know, California is one of the most taxed states in the country, and we're looking to repeal our gasoline tax that our legislature, without the voters' approval, just enacted. So we're looking to repeal that, and we're also looking to property owners. They're looking to put extra tax on property owners. Actually, it's under the guise of it's rent control. So we're looking to vote no on the rent control here. And we also have a gubernatorial race between Gavin Newsom and Mr. Cox. And Mr. Cox, a Republican, who will be getting my vote because the California liberals, I am an independent, but the California liberals in electing Gavin Newsom, who is the mayor of San Francisco, it's like, we can't go that way. We have to start looking back towards the middle of the road.
What do you think of Dianne Feinstein, who's up again?
Well, Ms. Feinstein, she was good at her time, but the time is up. The time is up. And the situation that she did, even with Mr. Kavanaugh, that to me, caused a lot of civil discord for her to hold back like that. And again, me being an African American, and when I say I do vote Republican and I do vote Democrat, but I'm not lockstep with the Democrats, and I never will be. And there are a lot of us African Americans who are lockstep with the Democrats. And even with President Trump is the president, and everything President Trump does is not wrong. President Trump is totally correct in some of the issues and policies that he's dealing with, and he's doing a really good job in some instances.
Okay.
With the economy.
Dwight, thank you for calling. Lots of other folks looking to get in this segment. We're talking to black voters only about your vote in 2018. Have you made up your mind yet, or where are you leaning? What important issues are out there this cycle for you? We just had a gentleman talk about the propositions in California, so we want to hear your thoughts on the people and the politics, the issues involved. And Dawood writes at our Facebook page this morning, I vote for the most qualified candidates in local, state, and federal races. As an African American, party affiliation doesn't factor into whom I vote for. Financial Times has this piece this morning about U.S. politics, the battle for Congress. Black voters hold the key to Democratic midterm hopes. There's a shot here of Bruce Franks. He's in the photograph speaking during a discussion on voter awareness in St. Louis at the university there. X Factor. They're talking about. They're working to reverse a decline in turnout since the Obama era. And this piece focuses largely about the race with Claire McCaskill and Josh Hawley, Senator McCaskill running for re-election. So Mr. Franks here is a rapper and an activist, and they write that Missouri, where East meets West and North meets South, where Route 66 crosses the Mississippi River, is at the intersection of the U.S. political divide in this election. It elected Mr. Trump over Hillary Clinton by 18 percentage points in 2016, but it also elected Ms. McCaskill by 15 points the last time she ran in 2012. So it talks about the dynamics there and the potential for turnout. And we have Anthony from Virginia Beach now on the line. Hey, Anthony.
Good morning, Paul. How are you?
Doing well, sir.
My stuff is this, and it is very simple. As a black man, especially of my age, I hold fast to this. Anything that supports the Donald Trump keep doing what he's doing. Number one, my big issue is immigration, illegal immigration. No one has the right just to enter a man's country and tell them what to do. Here in Virginia Beach, as I've oftentimes stated, if you're a black man driving down Virginia Beach Boulevard and you end up without your license, you're going to jail. So what gives these other people the right to step into my country that we fought for? The stuff that we had to go through to get where we are today, and we're still not even there, and come right on in and tell us, oh, we want this and we want that. You do not have that right. I'm sorry. Stay where you are, suffer with your people, or fight for what you want. We as black Americans have fought, and we have fought a long time trying to get to where we are, and it's about time we open up our eyes and understand Donald Trump is not against the black man. If anything, Donald Trump is for the black man.
Okay, thank you for calling, Anthony. We'll hear from David now. David's in Detroit. David, what is on your mind this morning?
Oh, that last caller from Virginia, he just raised my blood pressure to the next level.
How come? What did he say?
Oh, he's a buffoon. He's a buffoon. And the other guy, he's a buffoon. But let me just take my little couple seconds.
Yeah, go ahead.
Before I descend, I want to speak to the snippet that you had with Trump. All right. So he wants to tout that the African unemployment rate is at its lowest. Okay. So let's go back. And if you understand anything about economics, I'm going to presume that you do. It ordinarily takes a couple cycles for the economy to turn around. The economy started turning around up under Obama. Now, a lot of his policies might have been questionable, contested. Some people might have loved him. Some people might have hated him. But the thing is that it is finally starting to take form and shape. Unfortunately, we have a buffoon, and I like that word, that's in the White House that wants to take full effect and say that I'm responsible for this. No, you're not. Now, the question on board is, how am I going to vote? All right. I'm going to say this. I'm going to say it as plainly as I can. As a community in this country, African Americans have been played by both parties. We've been played deeply by the Republicans, and we've also been played by the Democrats. Now, I'm in a situation in Michigan where we have Debbie Stabenow, who's running for, she's an incumbent, running for U.S. Senate. She's running against a black gentleman by the name of James Jones, I believe it is. He would be okay if he was a white guy, with his credentials, West Point graduate, businessman, so on and so forth. He would fit that mold very well. But he's talking out of a different language. No one in the black community, let me back up. I don't mean to say that. I'm not buying what he has to say. All right. And to me, moving forward, after what I've seen over the last 2 years with the vitriol and the rancor and the lies and the deception and the people and these white people that are buying these lies that Trump is disseminating, it's nauseating. I know for a fact that, listen, I'm a veteran. My son is in the Air Force. My daughter is graduating from high school, and she's contemplating going in the reserves. And it frightens me. I don't even want my kids in the military.
All right, David. Going to let you go. Want to get some other voices in here, including that of Jack on our Facebook page. I'm voted for the guy whose policies have resulted in the lowest black unemployment rate in America's long history, Donald Trump, and for his party, too. Only a fool wouldn't. In terms of turnout and mobilization for turnout, Derek Johnson, the NAACP president, was on this program last Friday. Talked to us a little bit about what his organization is doing to get folks out to vote this year. Here's a look.
Right. The NAACP, what we did during my tenure, we invested heavily in data to really look at what is turnout among African Americans for midterm elections. And what we recognize that there is a dip in turnout compared to presidential elections. So from our investment, we began to target infrequent African American voters. Those are voters who vote during presidential elections, but typically don't vote during midterm elections, and aggressively communicate with those voters in targeted areas to increase turnout.
What kind of information are you communicating?
Well, we're talking about the current political landscape, the level of intolerance, racial hatred. We're looking at the most recent Kavanaugh hearings and what that truly means to civil rights as a whole. We're talking about access to health care, quality education, all of the bread and butter issues that's important. But what we really look at is our polling data. And our polling data said that African Americans feel disrespected. And so we're talking about earning back our respect through the power of the vote.
Meantime, BuzzFeed has this story posted recently. Black voters are underrepresented in this year's biggest House races. Black people are dramatically underrepresented. They write in the lead here in the key House races this year. A new analysis by BuzzFeed is showing nationwide 12% of voting age citizens identify as black in recent census data, but in the 48 closest House races this year, only 8% do. That difference could help determine which political party controls Congress next year. A recent poll found that 82% of black voters nationally preferred a Democratic House candidate over a Republican. That's in BuzzFeed. We have Orlando on the line. It's Virginia from Florida. Good morning, Virginia.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm doing okay, and how are you? I came to talk about, and I'm asking you to give me that opportunity to speak.
Sure. Go ahead, please.
I'm calling to talk about, you said about the black vote. But number one, I'm going to talk about the average black people, the average black family.
Okay.
Is wanting good health care, good education for their children, and they are wanting the opportunities that our Caucasians brothers and sisters have gotten. But I want to say this about Donald Trump, saying that what do we have to lose? We have everything to lose. Number one, he's a racist. This man has just not became a racist. You go check him out. The majority of the black people that you hear that are calling in that are voting for him or saying they're voting for him, they have not experienced what the average black person has experienced. Number one, I was born and raised in Birmingham, Alabama, and I marched with Dr. King. I fought for the voting rights. Donald Trump is giving the black people the okie doke. If he cared so much about us, why doesn't he have black people on his staff and up there at the White House? This man is using the black people to do and say what he wants to say. And, sir, the average black people don't believe in him. You want to know what the number one reason is?
What?
Because he's a liar. And most of us were taught in a Christian family that liars all have their part in the lake of fire, and all those that follow the big liar is going to go to the lake of fire. We don't want to burn in hell. This man has a lie every second. He tell a lie, and then he come back and contradict the lie. He is on national TV. How has he pulled the wool over all of these people, sir? This is the problem I have, that there are so many people that is following this liar that does not read the Bible, because, number one, if they did, they wouldn't be following him. Because this man has told more liars than all the presidents in the United States put together in his short time in the White House. He doesn't care anything about people of color. He doesn't care anything about anything but white people. He said that he didn't want any more colored people coming in. That includes the immigrants. That includes everybody that is of color, but the white people to come in. I love everybody. I want you to know that, because I'm a godmother to a white child. I love everybody. But it is wrong. He has promoted racism in our country. He has come in and completely tore down everything, tried to anyway, that President Obama has done. But like Dr. King said, the truth may crush the earth, but it will rise again.
All right, Virginia, let's move on to Don now. Don is in Sacramento, another early riser. Hey, Don.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Those people really, really stole my thunder, because first of all, I'm not black and I'm not no African American. I am a Hebrew Israelite Jew from the tribe of Judah. And all of you black people that's calling in here, you need to know that. And you need to know that this president is the devil. He is a liar, and that's all that the devil means. The word the devil means deceiver, and he is the biggest deceiver ever. And I don't see how you black folks is hanging with this man, because he don't care nothing about you. All he wants is your vote, and once you get him in there, you never know what he's going to do. He might just put you all in concentration camps. He already got the Mexicans in concentration camps. Next, he coming after y'all. And you seem like you don't even understand. All you talking about is job. This man does not give a damn about you getting no job. You only getting jobs because he putting the Mexicans out of the country. And y'all too dumb to see that. And I don't understand it. I don't understand how can anybody black vote for a Republican, because ever since they've been around, all they've done is try to oppress you, keep you down, keep you from voting, keep you from having your rights, keeping you from working. They hiring all right, but I bet you can't get none of these good jobs that these white boys is getting. And I don't see why y'all thinking he gonna get you a good job, because he ain't giving a damn about you.
All right, Don, gonna move on here. We mentioned the president's schedule this week, doing 3 different rallies. One today in Texas for Ted Cruz, one on Wednesday in Wisconsin, and another on Friday in North Carolina in Charlotte. Ahead of the midterms, writes the Washington Post, Trump avoids suburbs and goes where he is loved. They write here that as the president campaigns, he has mostly avoided the suburban areas that strategists say will be key to deciding the midterms, and where he is often less popular and runs the risk of energizing Democrats or hurting Republican candidates who have tried to distance themselves from him. Over the past few weeks, he has focused heavily on more rural areas where he is especially popular and where his presence can encourage the base voters that the Republicans candidates need. Of the 27 rallies, they write here, that Trump has held this year, more than 3/4 were held in counties that he won in 2016 by an average of 59.5%. The few times that he has ventured to counties that Democrat Hillary Clinton won, those places are nearly always surrounded on all sides by counties that he won. And more than a third of the rallies were in or near the Appalachian Mountains, where his popularity remains high. That's in the Washington Post this morning. Several more calls from California, including Nelson in Redwood City. Welcome to the program.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning to you.
Martin Luther King says somebody has to have a cool head, so I won't talk with my passion. I'll just try to be analytical. But I put my hand on my Reformation Study Bible and said, I've been a Republican since 1992, voted Republican. But George Will, I'm going to be like George Will. I have to leave the Republican Party now because they have morphed into the alt-right. I mean, there's no coming back after Trump made those Charlottesville remarks. I mean, there were good people on both sides. And what is the alt-right? Oh, isn't there alt-left? I mean, man, after a woman was murdered, but I'll leave that aside for right now.
Okay.
Obama, the unemployment rate under Obama went down from 12% to 7%. So it kept on going down to under Trump. And I'll point out another thing. This is not just in California and New York, but Asians voted 76% for Obama and 79% for Hillary. Jews voted 74% for Obama the first time and 69% the last time. You probably know Jews vote predominantly Democrat, and Latinos voted 70%, 72% for Obama. So it's not just blacks. Asians, after Vietnam, Asians voted overwhelmingly Republican. But the one article I read, this Vietnamese lady from Virginia said they become so extreme, the Republicans, that Hillary got 79% of the Asian vote, according to Asian Defense League. So it's not just black people. And Linda Gordon, who's Jewish, wrote the book, The Second Coming of the KKK, which was in the 1920s, and is very similar to what we're seeing now with these big rallies and everything. I'm a Bible believing Reformed Baptist Christian, but I can't go to a predominantly white evangelical church without something racist being said. I'm not exaggerating. Like, for instance, like George Soros was the cause of Charlottesville. He bust the Black Lives Matter people, and he bust the Nazis or defending Confederate statues. I mean, it is sort of like that 1920s movement of the KKK, where it was very religious, and people put up signs, Jesus saves, as they, about to lynch somebody or something.
Nelson, thank you for your comment. We'll do this for about a half hour more, asking for callers from black voters only about your vote. What's on your mind in 2018? Who do you like? Who might you be voting for if you've decided already? What issues are most important to you? According to Diane at our Facebook page, writes, Dear Republicans, your vote is private. Diane writes, no one ever needs to know you secretly voted blue. Do the right thing. Here is the front page of the Tampa Bay Times this morning. Big debate last night between Ron DeSantis, the Republican, and the former member of the House, Congressman, and Andrew Gillum, the Democrat, who is leading in the polls. He's the mayor of Tallahassee, Florida. CNN debate marks their first meeting, a harsh scuffle for Florida governor candidates. Here's a couple of minutes from last night's debate as they talked a little bit about race, which has been an issue in this contest.
You look at me as a prosecutor working with law enforcement. It didn't matter the race of the victim. We were there to support the race of the victim. So Floridians can know that I'll be a governor for all Floridians. That's the only way you can do it. It doesn't mean we're going to agree on every issue, but you know what? If we disagree tomorrow, maybe 2 weeks later, we'll find some common ground. So that is what I believe. And here's the thing. I look at what Andrew has done in terms of aligning himself with groups like the Dream Defenders, who he stood on the debate stage, said he stood with them, he stood by them. But one of their main planks of their platform is to boycott, divest, and sanction the state of Israel. They say Israel's a genocidal apartheid state. They attack law enforcement and the police. So that, to me, is very divisive. I don't think he should have signed that Dream Defenders pledge. I think he should disavow them because I can tell you this, if you want to unify Florida, taking positions about Israel like that, that may be unifying if you're running for the mayor of the Gaza Strip. It ain't unifying here. We're a pro-Israel state, and we need to do that.
Mr. Mayor? Well, let me just simply say my relationship with Israel is beyond reproach. I'm the mayor of a city that has a sister city relationship in Israel with the city of Ramat HaSharon. I've been to Israel 3 times, and I've had rabbis from my community come to my defense in this regard. That was a clever attempt to get away from the fact that Mr. DeSantis himself used to moderate a xenophobic, racist Facebook page.
Oh, that is not true.
It is, in fact,
that
the
is
truth.
Not true.
Up until
See,
you
this is
became
what
the
the left wing
Republican
does.
nominee.
Let's do one at a time.
When you became the Republican nominee, your response was, I don't even do social media. That was after you got caught. You've spoken at conferences where there have been racist and xenophobic and anti-Israel speakers.
It's his turn to
on the Facebook stuff, you can get added to these things without consent. I never consented to anything. Yes, you can. Okay. I never consented to anything. Once we found out about it, I just discontinued my Facebook thing. He mentions this conference. There was nothing wrong with that conference. I can tell you this, the keynote speaker at that conference was a Medal of Honor recipient named Clint Romeshay. And so you can impugn his integrity like you're trying to do mine. You've not worn the uniform. You don't know what sacrifice that takes. That man is an American hero, and I was proud to speak at the same conference that he spoke at.
Mr. Mayor?
Again, the congressman let us know exactly where he was going to take this race the day after he won the nomination. The monkey up comment said it all, and he has only continued in the course of his campaign to draw all the attention he can to the color of my skin. And the truth is, you know what, I'm black. I've been black all my life. So far as I know, I will die black. But this is the point. The only color that the people of the state of Florida care about is the blue-green algae flowing out of the east and the west side of this state, and they deserve a governor who is going to protect this environment after 20 years of environmental protection.
They also deserve a governor who will stand by.
Mr. Mayor, thank you so much.
From that Florida governor's debate last night on CNN between Ron DeSantis and Andrew Gillum, we have Tim on the line. Black voters only for this first hour. Tim is in Riverside, California. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, sir.
Yes, I just want to say a few things. First of all, I usually I don't vote. I usually vote independent.
Okay.
But this time, and I usually vote for the independent. I never did ever get anybody that I voted for. And then this time, when Trump got president, I voted for Trump. And the reason I voted for Trump, not because of what I wanted, it was because of what my belief in Jesus Christ. I asked myself, what would Jesus do? And I studied all the candidates, and opened my eyes up. Jesus, he showed me who to vote for.
So in these 2 years that he's been in office, what else has he shown you? So you voted for him. What are you getting out of that vote?
Oh, excuse me?
What are you getting out of that vote? What are you seeing in the president in these 2 years?
Okay, here we go. Abortion. I'm against abortion.
Okay.
Okay? I don't want no women out there killing babies. Abortion is murder. Okay? I'm so happy I want to get rid of that. It shouldn't be abortion at all. Okay? Another thing, immigration. Immigration is okay, but I think you have to do it legal. Okay? Other things. He's going to help the black people. Black people, if you're listening, just keep your eyes on Jesus and forgive the white man. The stuff in the past is gone. Okay? You see white people today, they haven't done nothing to you. Forgive them. Move on. Forgive all people. Just do what the Lord Jesus wants you to do, and you'll know what's right. That's all I have to say.
All right, Tim, let's move on to Mark. Mark is in Columbus, Ohio. Good morning, Mark.
Good morning. How are you doing today?
Doing fine, sir. What's on your mind?
Referring to this guy from California just said that Jesus wants you to do the right thing. Yes, he wants you to do the right thing. And we as black folks was not supposed to be here in the United States only because of slavery that we are here. And we are still being enslaved if we think that these Republicans are going to help us out. If they was going to help us out, then they wouldn't be trying to suppress our votes. We need to get together as black people, vote Democratic, and get these people out of there. Trump ain't nothing but the devil. He reminds me of Jim Jones and all these black folks that want to vote for him and keep his agenda is doing nothing but drinking the Kool-Aid.
Okay. More about money in the New York Times this morning. Major donors, they write, provide money edge to the GOP for the final election push. They write here that the Republicans enter the final month of the campaign with more money in the bank than Democrats, providing them with vital ammunition as they wage a furious effort to hold on to control of Congress. The most recent round of campaign finance disclosures filed Saturday show that Republican National Party committees, candidates in key House and Senate races, and their top unlimited money outside groups, or super PACs, had $337 million on hand as of the end of last month. Their Democratic counterparts had $285 million in the bank on that same date. That's in the New York Times. And Julius is on the line now from Greensboro, North Carolina. Good morning.
Good morning. I want to say something about the guy in Virginia.
Okay.
I want to say something about the guy that just left off from California. I don't know where the hell y'all come from, but y'all need to get that still played out your head. Now, if Trump would take and put one of my grandchildren in a damn cage, I'm going to tell you something. It wouldn't be no more Washington, D.C. there. And all you people that follow Donald Trump, y'all going to go along and y'all going to be in damn cages. Thank you and have a good day.
All right, and Harry. Harry is on the line from Lawrence, New Jersey. Good morning to you.
Hello. I've been a Democrat my whole life until recently during the primaries with what I seen how the Democrats all bowed down to Hillary, how I seen how they did what they did to Bernie. Everyone knows they rigged that primary. I changed my voting status to independent and will no longer vote for a Democrat. The Democrats, they don't do nothing for black people. All they do is give us a good speech, act like they care, take our vote, and then they do nothing. You know, I'm not advocating for Republicans at all, but I'm just off the Democratic plantation. You know, I agree with Trump in certain respects as far as illegal immigration, because most refugees or illegal immigrants that come into the country, they get sprinkled in the black community. Now we got to compete with them, and we've been competing all our lives for jobs anyway. So I'm just done with the Democrats. I can't do nothing for them no more. They don't do anything for black people but give us lip service. That's it. Okay, Harry. More of your calls in a couple of minutes. Lots of other news out there, of course, on this Monday. Washington Post lead story, Saudis can't quell the uproar over Khashoggi. The kingdom's regional standing is at risk. They write that Saudi Arabia's foreign minister denied on Sunday that the nation's powerful young crown prince ordered Jamal Khashoggi's killing, but the attempt to distance Mohammed bin Salman from the journalist's demise did little to blunt an international uproar that could test Saudi Arabia's status as a regional power. That's in the Washington Post. Washington Times below the fold. Calls grow loud worldwide for answers on Khashoggi. Turkey's President Erdogan is vowing to go into detail in a major speech Tuesday on the findings of his country's investigation into the death of the Saudi writer. Just two of those stories today. On the Sunday shows, several members of Congress took part in the conversation about this killing of Jamal Khashoggi. We're going to hear from Adam Schiff of California on the Democratic side, and then Bob Corker of Tennessee on the Republican side. Here's a look.
I think we should demand the audio recordings. I have to expect that Turkey is holding them in abeyance for now because they want to have this lever over the Crown Prince. There is obviously this regional rivalry between these two countries, and that's manifest in conflict in places like Syria and elsewhere. But we should demand access to those recordings. We should demand the publication of those recordings. And frankly, the Turkish explanation, if it is one that they don't want to betray their intelligence gathering methods, they've already acknowledged they have recordings. So it seems there will be little additional damage done to their methods by disclosing what those recordings have to say and allowing the United States and others to hear those recordings.
My sense is that he is behind it. You know, I want to see the rest of the documentation. I want to know more about it. But that's my sense. I'm not condemning automatically today. I want this investigation to be completed. But yes, look, if you sit down with him, and I'm sure you have, Jake, he is a very impressive young person, talking about the future of Saudi Arabia, pushing back against the Wahhabists there by doing some of the progressive things that they obviously rail against. You know, moving away from solely focusing on fossil fuels to privatizing Aramco, which hasn't occurred yet. But if you listen to his vision of the future, it is very impressive. But then if you look what he did when he came into power, where he got the opposition in the Ritz-Carlton, detained them there, tortured many of them. When you look at the fact that Lebanon has a confessional system, and so their prime minister is Sunni, the fact that he didn't like the way he was carrying out his activities, he arrested him. Obviously, Hariri has construction interest in Saudi Arabia, and I think his wife lives there, so they had a lot of, they had a hold over him, if you will. And then if you look at the rookie mistake he made in Qatar, where without even talking to us, they put in place this blockade. He also has made some mistakes, and obviously if he's gone forth and murdered this journalist, he's now crossed the line, and there has to be a punishment and a price paid for that. And again, I'm not rushing to judgment. Do I think he did it? Yes, I think he did it. Let's finish this investigation. We have the best in the world at being able to do that. We obviously have intercepts from the past that point to involvement at a very high level. So let's let this play out. But my guess is at the end of the day, the United States and the rest of the world will believe fully that he did it. We'll see.
And a little bit more on this story. Headline in the Washington Post: Trump, who prizes strength, they write in the headline, may look weak in hesitance to punish Saudis. President's response to killing of journalists could leave a lasting impression, is the subhead. The Saudi foreign minister was also on the Sunday morning shows. He was on Fox News and had this to say about the missing and presumed dead journalist Jamal Khashoggi.
We are determined to punish those who are responsible for this murder, and we are determined to ensure that the institution that we have that deals with intelligence has checks and balances in it, and to ensure that something like this can never happen again.
You said you don't know where the body is. Someone obviously knows. Was it chopped up? Was it dismembered? Do you know that?
We're working on this. We're working on this with our Turkish colleagues. The public prosecutor is continuing his line of questioning, and we are intent on determining what happened, and we're intent on uncovering all of the facts that exist in this case. We want to make sure that we know what happened, and we want to make sure that those responsible be held to account.
And just under 20 minutes left in this first hour of the Monday edition of the Washington Journal. Election Day, 15 days from now. We're asking black voters only about your vote in 2018. Have you made up your mind? Will you go out to vote? Are you leaning one way or the other? If you haven't made up your mind yet, and of course, what kind of issues are important to you this election cycle? From Quinnipiac University poll from earlier in October says this. They talk about generic ballot tests by race. Black voters, 82% inclined to vote for Democrats versus 10% Republicans. Hispanic voters, 63% to 28% Democrats. White voters, Republicans lead there, 52% to 42%. Again, a Quinnipiac University poll. John has been very patient, hanging on from Hampton, Georgia. Good morning, John.
Good morning.
Yes, sir.
I just want to remind people that the jobs that Mr. Trump keep talking about are temporary jobs. Temporary job is not the same as a job. A job means that you have benefits, that you have an assurance that you're going to be working the next day. So all of these temporary jobs are not real jobs. So don't come with no stats about jobs for black people, because all the black people I know have temporary jobs. I don't know very many black people with a regular job. So we need to get off of that. And as far as Mr. Trump and black people, I lived in New York in the 80s. Mr. Trump wanted those black kids that were accused of raping the lady in the park. He wanted them dead. So I just don't think that Mr. Trump and his party is the right place for black people to vote.
Okay, on to Jamie. Jamie is in Severn, Maryland. Jamie, welcome to the conversation. What would you like to say?
Yes, I just wanted to say that, well, the last caller, I definitely like his comment. And I wanted to say that, that black folks, period, I think it was Marcus Garvey that said it, that said that, you know, like we almost, I believe it was him, but anyway, he was talking about the healing. You know, he's saying that black folks really don't have any real friends. You know what I mean? And it doesn't mean that we don't have any, but he's just talking about as a large group. You know what I mean? Like we have to learn to do for ourselves and stop looking for anybody else. You know what I mean? Not that we have looked for anybody else, but when it looks like somebody's willing to help us, we kind of latch on to that. You know, and we have faith in that person. You know what I mean? Or that group. And it's clear that that doesn't happen. People use us, and so yes, you know, the Republican Party is definitely not the place for us. The Democratic Party has taken advantage because they've gotten used to us, you know, and they no longer, they don't. It doesn't seem as though they feel like they have to earn our vote. As far as separating, as far as the rest of everything goes, I'm sorry, buddy.
You made several points, Jamie. Thanks for calling. Have a good day. Paul is in Gastonia, North Carolina. In the meantime, hey, Paul.
Yes.
Yes,
Good
sir.
morning.
Go ahead, please. Good morning.
Yes. The last two callers were a little bit more on the point than what had been going on with the rest of your callers in terms of why Donald Trump was in office and what was going on. Of course, he is a prevaricator, and he's not. The truth is not in him for a lot of things that he say. But the rationale is Mr. Trump or President Trump is an opportunist, and individuals on Wall Street, the large corporations have found a messiah, an individual who will do anything to make sure that they make unprecedented profits, and they're able to keep all of their money. So therefore, the tax cut was right up there, and the next thing that's going to come to support the tax cut, because the deficit is unsustainable with these tax cuts, are the social programs, Social Security and Medicare and Medicaid, and all of those underpinnings that have allowed us to have a real middle class. And, of course, that is being eroded by the things that Mr. Trump and his group are doing. And I hope a lot of people see that, and it has very little to do with a black and white issue, and has to do with who has the money and who doesn't have the money.
All right, Paul. Mildred hanging on in Oak Park, Michigan. Mildred, good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for taking my call.
Of course. Go ahead, please.
The administration under this gentleman that's in the White House now does not reflect the makeup of America. It's obvious he has practically all white cabinet and administration. So what does that say to a black voter like me? I am a Democrat, and I'm a Democrat because I believe in the objectives of the Democratic Party. I am very disappointed in the person in the White House, his attitude toward women. He has been very disgraceful. There's never been a president, and I am 86 years old. There's never been a president that I've disrespected as much as this gentleman, and it's because he does not respect women. He does not respect people of color, and he's a total disappointment. I have voted Republican before, but there is no way that I could subscribe to his vocabulary, his disrespect for women, and he's just a disappointment. I'm very disappointed in the Republican Party for even nominating and supporting a man like that.
Okay, Mildred, thank you for calling in. Lead story in the New York Times has this: Trump may, they write, may limit how government defines one sex. This is a threat, they write here, to the protections of those who identify as transgender. The lead says the administration is considering narrowly defining gender as a biological, immutable condition determined by genitalia at birth, the most drastic move yet in a government-wide effort to roll back recognition and protections of transgender people under federal civil rights law. You can read more at the New York Times this morning. Wall Street Journal has that picture that we've been seeing all weekend and in the papers again today of this so-called caravan, this long line of migrants apparently headed toward the U.S. They're resuming their trek toward the U.S. Honduran migrants mostly could fuel a fresh Trump-Mexico rift before the midterm vote. As we look at the picture, the Journal says that Mexico finds itself in a tough spot. The immigrant caravan puts Mexico in a tough spot, said Jorge Chabat, an expert on U.S.-Mexican relations at the University of Guadalajara. Quote, there is pressure from President Trump to return the migrants, but how do you do that with the thousands that have crossed without having an incident where somebody could get killed, said Mr. Chabat. But if you let them all in, then tomorrow you will have 4 more caravans. It could get complicated. What began with several hundred people swelled as word spread. An organizer, David Lopez, said the caravan includes 5,000 people. We've seen some estimates this morning that say it could be as high as 7,000 people. Photo there in the Wall Street Journal and elsewhere. Back to our callers. Black voters only, talking about this midterm election season. Alex, New York, good morning.
Yes, good morning, C-SPAN. Thank you so much for taking my call.
You're welcome.
I would like to say that, yes, I would like to begin by saying that I do believe that Democrats have not done enough for the black community. I haven't seen anything in regards to continued black growth. I have not seen enough done about black education. And I would like to know exactly what are the Democrats standing on for moving forward with the election. Because right now, black unemployment is low, the economy is doing well, and Obamacare is not going anywhere. At least I don't believe it is. However, at the same time, I am a Republican, and I do believe that Republicans need to be fair when it comes to immigration. All illegals, including European illegals, should be deported. One last thing. I do not believe that Trump is the devil. I think that Trump is a bit ignorant. He's old school. He comes from a time when there were a lot of white individuals who were leaders, and Trump believes the same thing. I do believe that he is not mentally fit to be president. I want an educated Republican who unites America, not divide America. Thank you for taking my call.
Okay, from Alex on the phone to Yosef at our Facebook page. Yes, I'm voting, but unfortunately, he writes, I don't feel like any of the candidates in my area have an agenda specifically for black Americans. Their policies will help everyone, but from what I've seen, this means blacks will disproportionately be disadvantaged. We welcome your comments at social media and by phone. And as of last Friday, in case you missed this story, a political action committee in Arkansas won't end the airing of an ad in Little Rock saying black men will face rape accusations if Democrats win. The story at Little Rock said that the PAC said Friday it won't pull these radio ads in hotly contested races in Arkansas and Missouri that suggest African-American men will face rape accusations if Democrats win the midterm elections. Here is a look at that ad now.
Congressman French Hill and the Republicans know that it's dangerous to change the presumption of innocence to a presumption of guilt, especially for black men. If the Democrats can do that to a white justice of the Supreme Court with no evidence, no corroboration, and all of her witnesses, including her best friend, say it didn't happen, what will happen to our husbands, our fathers, or our sons when a white girl lies on them?
Girl, white Democrats will be lynching black folk again.
Honey, I've always told my son, don't be messing around with that. If you get caught, she will cry rape.
I'm voting to keep Congressman French Hill and the Republicans because we have to protect our men and boys. We can't afford to let white Democrats take us back to bad old days of race verdicts, life sentences, and lynchings when a white girl screams rape.
Paid for by black Americans for the president's agenda. Not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee.
But one of the candidates, Republican French Hill, did come out against this ad. He writes at Twitter, "Some may have heard an appalling ad on the radio. I condemn this outrageous ad in the strongest terms. I do not support that message, and there was no place in Arkansas for this nonsense." That was a story that was developing last week. If there's a change in that particular story in the future of that ad, we'll let you know. Pamela, in the meantime, is in Upper Marlboro, Maryland, just outside D.C. Good morning to you, Pamela.
Good morning, and thank you for taking my call.
You bet.
I'm voting Democratic all the way, and I want to say that there would be a blue tsunami rather than a blue wave if suppression tactics were outed and removed. To have over 53,000 black votes being questioned down in Georgia here in 2018, to have over tens of thousands, and look this up, the information came from C-SPAN as well as some other news outlets, to have over tens of thousands black students down at Prairie View AME University, which is a black college down in Texas, in a white county, to have, for decades, they've been fighting for their right to vote. They want to get out. They've mustered the vote to come out midterm, and they're going back and forth. They've been back and forth in the courts to have the Indian vote now be questioned and required for them over in North Dakota, for them to have addresses where for decades they've used post office boxes. They use post office boxes right here this year for this year's primaries. They have all of these antics and shenanigans to be employed by the Republicans and the GOP, not only against blacks but other people of color. It's a shame. So it's no question. I'm voting Democrat, and black folks should vote Democrat all the way. And I need to say this.
Okay.
We don't need white folks to tell us how to vote and what our interests are. Our interests are same as yours: education, health care, economic opportunities, and then some. We're concerned with prison reform. So these shenanigans need to be outdated. It's the same thing as asking us how many bubbles are in a bar of soap and how high is high. It needs to be exposed and outed.
Okay, Pamela calling there from Maryland. Ben Jealous is one of three African-American Democratic nominees for governor around the country. 538.com has this picture of them. There's Mr. Jealous on the left, Stacey Abrams in the center there. She's running in Georgia. And, of course, Andrew Gillum, who we heard from earlier. The story says that only 2 African-Americans, neither of them women, have ever been elected governor. But this year, Democrats have chosen black men to be their gubernatorial candidates in Florida and Maryland, and a black woman in Georgia, creating the potential for a huge breakthrough for African-Americans at the state level. They write that it's unlikely all 3 will win, and it's possible that all 3 might lose. Moreover, the 3 candidates stand wildly different chances, according to 538's newly launched governor's forecast. You can read more about that at 538.com. And a couple more calls here. David from Denver, good morning.
Good morning, Paul. Wonderful program. I will be voting Democrat. We've already started voting in Colorado. And let me tell you why.
Okay.
I served close to 30 years in the Air Force, beginning under the Clinton administration, during H.W. Bush, 2 terms of Bush, and I retired in 2016 during the second Obama term.
Okay.
I feel an existential fear of this administration, and I've never felt that way before.
What do you fear, David?
I listen to his rallies. He's not talking to me during those rallies. He's talking to those 30% of hardcore white people who support him. The economy, it was already trending well when President Obama left. His job is not to mess it up. But yet, with his instability, I don't know if he will. And finally, Paul, he is the most divisive person, the divisive president, most divisive administration in my lifetime. And some of your callers have referred to immigration. Let me say this. Do you think he would have been separating white children from their parents the way he separated those children from their parents at the border? That's my position, Paul, and that's my outlook.
All right. Thanks for calling, David. Last call here is from Mark. Mark is in Atlanta. Mark, you get the final word for this hour. What would you like to say?
Hey, yeah, good morning.
Good morning.
Just like the last caller, I'm a veteran.
Okay.
And what I see in this country now, how I see this country leaning is Russian oligarchs in American politics. I want to save this republic. I want this republic to be a constitutional republic like we've always been. Get rid of this unnecessary waste. How much has he traveled all over the country, wasted our tax dollars? That's all I have to say.
Okay. Thanks, Mark, for calling. A reminder, a busy week of politics again this week.